Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. Today, we read chapters 10 through 12 of Rhythm of War, Book 4 of the Stormlight Archive. In these chapters, Dalinar gives Kaladin some bad news. Something I think Jamie kind of predicted this the last time, but it's a little more extreme, I think, than even she expected. So we'll get into that. Then we see what Kholinar is looking like now with the singers in charge, and we get some Venli perspective and what's going on with her. Some very interesting stuff there as well. And then we all go out drinking. Adolin and Kaladin and Shallan. Everybody has a good, in quotes, time. But we'll talk about it when we get there. I'm Data, and with me today is
Dak
and Jamie.
No Joe this week. We are recording on the 4th of July, and he had, holiday plans. Unlike me, who I was telling Dak, we spent the whole day like laying around reading, playing Pokopia. So very relaxed holiday for us, at least.
Classic.
Yeah. Let's get into this. Hang on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
There is a wonder in the weave, so many forks upon these roads. For a burden that is shared is much easier to bear. We will not fall to despair this darkest day. Whatever comes our way, whatever paths we follow, I will share your pain, your laughter and your sorrow. And should we prove ourselves, lose ourselves, nothing's gonna send us astray.
So yeah, 3 more chapters this time, and we're kind of in the we're winding down a bit from the big battle and confrontation. I guess Kaladin had a battle, Shallan had more of a confrontation, but all the kind of mini Sanderlanche at the beginning of the book, we're in the wind down phase from that. What did you guys think of these 3 chapters?
These are fun. Yeah, it's definitely just okay, a bit of breathing room. Now we're finally sort of setting the scene of where we are rather than the full-on action. The confrontation with Kaladin and Dalinar was interesting, especially because Dalinar just had his trump card to make Kaladin back down instantly. So it's interesting. This is not where I thought I saw Kaladin's, story going, but it makes sense from a progression point of view. So that was cool. Venli back, interesting. A lot to unpack there, just what she's doing and who she's dealing with. But I guess Adolin, best dude. Like once again, of course it's Adolin who comes in, check on Kaladin. It's like, no, we are going out, and you are going to, we're going to work through some stuff because Adolin looks after everyone. Adolin, best dude. Although, and then towards the end of the chapter, it's sad. It's like, oh, is Rock leaving? Like for good? That's definitely how it seemed. So that will be sad if he's no longer around. I feel it's kind of abrupt at the start of a book just to say, all right, this character who's hung around, not dying, but it's just, all right, he's out. See ya. So that
A little bit sudden.
Yeah. Unfortunately, because we like Rock. I mean, I'm glad he's not just dying at the start of a book, but yeah, it's like, oh, okay. So long, partner.
Yeah, the Rock thing. Yeah, it really does seem to almost come out of nowhere at the beginning of this, and I say almost because we knew at the end of the last book, like, this was something serious for Rock, what he did. He took this life to save Kaladin, right? And
Yeah.
I don't think we understood necessarily the ramifications or all of the ramifications of it at that time. So maybe it's not a surprise exactly, but it's like, that was sudden. Okay.
Yeah. There were sort of hints in Dawn Shard and at the end of the last book, I think, unless if I'm remembering correctly, that he was going to have to go. I just didn't expect it to be now, is all.
Yeah. While all this other stuff is happening, it's just like, oh yeah, bye, Rock.
Yeah.
So, well, and I like what you said about Kaladin, the Kaladin part too, because that also was unexpected. It's like we've just had this big battle at the beginning, and Kaladin, he had some issues for sure, but he was fighting as well as ever, it seems like. And Dalinar's like, no, you're done. You're on the bench, my man. And so it's like, oh, okay, that's not where you think the story is going to go.
No, because one, he's the main character. You don't expect that to happen to the main character. Two,
Yeah.
he is easily the best fighter they've got on their side. You don't expect that to happen to the best fighter in the middle of a war. But I guess that's the whole thing. He's been training the Windrunners, and it's like, okay, now they need to function without you because they're good. Maybe they're not up to your level, but they're good enough to survive without you.
Mhm.
And, if you die, that will be a massive blow to morale. So,
Well, and part of what adds to it is that, like you said, he knows the right way to say this to Kaladin to get to have Kaladin agree, but Kaladin agrees because he knows Dalinar is right, and we're in Kaladin's head enough that we have also seen the problems that Dalinar is pointing out, and you're like, oh no, I mean, like, he's right. This is probably best for Kaladin. You just don't expect that. You don't expect in the fantasy book them to be like, you can't go into battle anymore. Your emotional issues are getting to be too much. Like, when have you ever seen that?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's an interesting wrinkle, and it's like, okay, didn't expect this, but I am curious to see where it goes.
Yeah. Well, and we'll have to talk when we get to predicaments, but I'm curious about where you guys think it will go, because Kaladin's kind of at a loose end when we end this section.
Yeah, they were 3 good chapters. I liked getting a Venli perspective. I like seeing, like, I guess a little bit more of that settled relationship with her and Timber, and appreciated a bit more of an explanation, I guess, of what was happening with her and then what she's able to do, which was really cool. I like that there's a bit more of a tie, I guess, between the Fuse and Venli and Kaladin. Like, you're kind of gaining on, like, who the key players are there. I like this little not resistance, not rebellion they're building. And I'm really interested to see where that goes. A little bit of insight into what's happening at Kolinar and these huge towers they're building. And yeah, I think it's the right time. We came into this book with such a big, really in the middle towards the end of the action that was occurring, and for things to sort of settle and everyone go back to their separate places. I think that was a really good time for that, and for Venli to come up. So I'm pretty happy with that. Kaladin, seeing where he's up to, that's really hard. There's a lot there for those intrusive voices, and it's really hard when you're in the middle of that to be able to separate yourself out from that and then to not let those voices win. So I really feel for him in that situation. That's a really, really dark place, and it's heartening to know that he's got so many people that are on his side and trying to look out for him. Dalinar removing him from that, it's kind of like taking that one thing that he's got that he's happy about, which I worry about, but I also see the reasons as to why Dalinar would need to do that. So that makes that, really obviously very difficult for him. But, for Kaladin, it's like, hang on, I'm going to backtrack there a little bit. Obviously, like, what I do for a living is not quite at the same stake level as Kaladin. However,
I feel like we would have
current-
conversations if it was.
yeah.
Like, I'm not super comfortable
True.
with this. Yeah.
No, but when like, I stock take for a living, right? It's not like I'm not out there combating the enemy or anything, but I started my position as a team of one and eventually got a couple of people in, and then you train them up and a couple of people in, and somehow found myself in a position of leadership amongst a team, right? It's really hard to ask people to do something that you then don't do yourself, and being able to separate out from being the person who's actually went and did things to now being like, now I want you to go and do things. Like, that is hard enough when I'm going to ask people to count something that's particularly old and dusty and gross, right? I can't even imagine how that would be. Of like, all right, well, I've trained you up, now go fight, and maybe we'll see you again. Maybe we won't, who knows? That is, I feel that when people's lives are not on the line, I don't even imagine how Kaladin can feel coming out of it. Like, when you could send people off to lose their lives. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like Kaladin's journey really resonated with me this time. And I'm like, oh, my man Kaladin, I want to just wrap you up in some wool and, you'll be okay, mate. You will. You will. You'll find a new way, and that there is something you can do for people that you don't need to. You actually don't need to be the one on the battlefield doing it now. They do need you here. This is like Dalen was right. If they were to lose you now, or maybe it was Dak that said it, that would be so much worse, regardless of whether you were there fighting or not. Like this is not a good thing for the team if we're to start losing Kaladin and Stormblessed. So yeah, look, I feel for him. We'll see where his journey goes. I really liked that we've had Adolin. I believe we hated Adolin at the beginning. Like, and he shows up, and then we're like, he's such a good guy.
It's like one of the biggest regrets of reading the Stormlight is how much I disliked Adolin to start with.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, look, I love Adolin, and also I feel for him too. It's like two of the most important people in his life that it's really like they're really struggling, and he just wants to help them, and it's really difficult for him, and I really feel for him. I'm glad that Radiant stepped forward and addressed that, hey, there are other ones brewing in the background. Like, not all is well. And then Patton's going, nah, not all is well. A really good set of chapters for our Spren friends, I think, showing up for their people. So yeah, look, I liked that. And then Rock. I think the hardest thing with Rock is he's going to do this because of like his honor and what he should be doing. He vowed to not fight, and then he did that, and now he's sort of taking himself back. It's like he doesn't have to go, but he's choosing to, and I think that's what makes it really sad. And I do hope we see Rock again. He didn't die on page, so he's not gone. We'll see how we go. But lots of stuff. Despite it slowing down, I think there was still a lot of stuff that happened in these chapters. They were still really good.
I just love the picture of like you're in a place, you have to count some stuff. You're just like, hey, I want you to go back into that old, really dusty section and count the things, and hopefully we'll see you again.
I mean, I'm assuming people's lives aren't depending on it, but so far my team are accounted for. We're good.
Good, yes.
Whatever happened to Jeff? I don't know. We sent him into the back section. He just count something. He just never came back.
Yeah. Sometimes it feels like that could happen, but
the stock back there is lost for good. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't seen it, but like this is the plot of Backrooms, isn't it?
I don't know.
I've never heard of it.
I like what you say about Kaladin though, because we hadn't talked about it really from that perspective. Is that he's always had this thing from the very beginning. Like he talked himself out of dying because he's like, I'm going to try to make things better for these guys in Bridge 4, and I'm going to protect them and I'm going to save them. And he's kind of never let go of that, even though, and the team has only grown bigger and bigger. And so it's just more people that he's determined to protect and save. And that's got to be hard on you after a while.
Yeah. But also there's that realization you can't give from an empty cup, right? If you don't look after yourself, you actually don't have anything to give these people. And, it might, especially for him being there from the beginning, it may feel like, all of these people are continuously depending on you, but you did what you needed to do. You healed them. I imagine it's like parents whose kids end up moving out. It's like you don't stop being their parent or stop caring about them, but they're doing it for themselves now. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. You did what you needed to do.
Hopefully, yeah.
Let go a little bit. Well, hopefully, or they're off the rails and you can never really stop doing what you needed to do. But I get that from you never stop being a parent, you never stop caring, you'll never stop stepping in if you need to step in, but you're not there. Like they've moved on, they've got spouses and families, and you look at where they started in Bridge 4 to that whole path that they've come on now, and they're living their lives. This is what you wanted for them. They're there now. You got to step back and look after yourself, man.
Yep. And probably not a lot of people would have been like self-aware enough when Dalinar points this out to go, you know what? No, he's right. And so that's another, impressive part about Kaladin is that he is able to kind of acknowledge that. He really doesn't want to.
Yeah, it would have been very easy to stand there and go, no, you're wrong, and I'm going to continue. But, right, the self-awareness there is impressive.
And also what you mentioned about seeing the stuff with Venli, it's we're used to seeing the aftermath of things from the Alethi side, but I think this may be the first time that it's like, oh, and when the battle winds down, we see what's going on the other side too, and it's all very new and kind of interesting, and I thought that was a pretty cool little bit.
And just to see how they've established themselves now, because obviously they were in a pretty big time of change the last time we saw the leaders and the singers and the fused, and having a little bit more, I guess, structure, like what was the fallout of that now the fused have taken over? What does that actually look like for them now? And for any Alethi still living in Colonna, doesn't look good. It's not a good time.
Yeah.
It sounds like for the singers also not also a great time, knowing that you could be picked off by a fused at any time. I don't know, but it was good to see, the returning from battle and that nice little cliffhanger at the end. Yeah, it'll be good to see what happens next.
Something is going on. That was an interesting little bit of a cliffhanger there. Should be interesting to see. And then, yes, we love Adolin. It's just like the more you go, the more we like Adolin. It's crazy.
Also, who's checking on Adolin at this point? I feel like, there's only so much you can absorb, and you're like, your best friend, Bridge Boy, is going through some stuff, and you're there for him, and your wife and her co-inhabitants are going through some stuff. Is Adolin okay? Adolin and Dana don't seem to be particularly on the same page at the moment.
True.
And you just know that Adolin is looking after Renarin too.
Yeah, Adolin's looking after everybody. Adolin is like the Steve from Stranger Things, It's just always good.
That is the best comparison. That is absolutely who he is. He's like the normal guy among like these superpowered people who's like, I don't quite know everything that's going on, but I'm going to be here for my folks.
Yeah.
I'm hoping on some level his wife can be there for him also, even though she does have, some serious stuff going on, but we haven't seen all that much of their like married relationship. I think that this section in the bar is probably the most we get of it, and that's like Shalon's not even around.
Yeah.
Okay, well let's move into these chapters, y'all. So chapter 10 was called A Single Casualty, which we get at the very end of the chapter, like the name drop of the chapter. You're like, oh, it kind of hits hard after you know what we're talking about. So yeah, they're getting close to the Shattered Plains, and they're flying, and Kaladin is he's feeling better. It's taken like the whole trip back from Hearthstone to recover from what happened with Moash, but he's doing okay. And we meet a new honor spren, Yunfa, and Yunfa was bonded to a Radiant who died, and Kaladin wants this guy to bond with R'lain, who's like the one guy on Bridge 4 who wants to fight and who has not gotten a bond yet at this point, I think.
And like he's been dealing the whole time with, I don't fit in. I'm like I'm the Parshendi among these people. Like I absolutely do not fit in. So if he's the only one without a spren as well, that's gonna be making that worse.
100%. Yeah. And so Kaladin's like, I want you to consider bonding with R'lain. And Yunfa's like, nuh-uh, I don't wanna. And I like Syl's over here, like he's acting mad, but I think he'll agree if you push him. He respects you, and honor spren like hierarchy. So basically, Kaladin has to be like, you will, as the High Marshal and your superior officer, I forbid you to bond anyone unless you try to work with R'lain first.
And somewhere Stormfather just goes, you're not his real dad.
Yeah, maybe. And so Kaladin says, I'll give you 10 days to make your decision. And the spren's like, all right, fine, and takes off. And Syl is like, I'm pretty sure he will give R'lain some serious consideration now. He doesn't want to go back to Shadesmar. He likes this realm too much. That's not exactly a resounding, like, yes, but I guess Kaladin's like, fine, I'll take it. Take what we can get. Yeah, we haven't seen R'lain yet, but I'm feeling kind of bad for him already.
Yeah, I mean, dude's gone through some horrific stuff in his time. And he's probably out there feeling like Venli does, like, I'm the last of my kind. So, yeah, a lot going on.
As far as he knows, they really might all be gone. Like, I don't think that he knows Venli's out there. Or the people who escaped. He has no idea about like that group who escaped and may still be alive after we saw them go into the chasms.
Yeah, no, like, I mean, how would he know? He's hanging out with the Alethi, and they sure as hell don't know.
Exactly. So they land back on the Shattered Plains. And there's some talk about, they're using the city now, Narak, as kind of their base here. And they've gotten some information from R'lain about how the Parshendi used to use the city, but a bunch of it is still real confusing for them. Maybe the heralds can explain this pillar? But unfortunately, considering one of them was full-on delusional and the other dabbled in it now and then, he wasn't certain they'd be useful. So good to know that the two, we saw them get hold of Talon and Shalash at the end of the last book, but apparently they're not being super helpful.
I had completely forgotten that Yasna picked them up.
Yeah.
So,
I love it. I just love that line of, well, the other one dabbled in it now and again. Hilarious.
It's like she's fine. She's fine as long as we bring her a painting to deface for some reason.
Yeah, right. Shalon's in the other room drawing more pictures of her so she can keep ruining them. Yeah. And so Callan's like, "Hey, can we go on and clean up and everything?" And Dalinor's like, "Hold on one moment. I want to talk to you." We find out a little bit about kind of how the monarchy thing is working now. Dalinor gave up on that whole idea of being High King over some other monarch, and Yasna is Queen of Alethkar, and he is King of Urithiru.
I gotta say, like, one thing I am rather done with in Stormlight is we go through all this rigmarole of Dalinor setting up a new position for him to take, and then backtracking on it like a short while later. We did it all in that first book where it's like his section ended with like, I'm going to abdicate and Adolin will take over my role. Next section, lol, nope. And now we've done it again.
To be fair, I don't think Dalinar ever really wanted that. Elhokar was just like, "No, I'm going to make you over me." And he was like, "Okay, then."
I know, but it was treated like a really big thing and was undone almost immediately. And now I feel like the same thing has happened. I'm like, come on, man. They stick to it.
And I love that they Kaladin and Dalinar kind of stand there, and Dalinar doesn't say anything at first, and Kaladin's like, "Oh, I know this trick. This is a disciplinary tactic. You let the silence hang and make them try to explain themselves." Well, I'm not doing it because I have no idea why we're here. And so Dalinar's unhappy. He's got reports that you have been letting enemy fused go once you've wounded them. And Kaladin's like, "Well, yeah, like I think we've reached kind of an understanding with the Heavenly Ones. We don't kill them if in these situations, and they don't kill us." And Dalinar's like, "This isn't a game. This is literally a war for our survival." And Kaladin's like, "Well, yeah, but as soon as we kill one of them, they come right back. If they kill one of us, then it takes a long time to train up a new Windrunner. So, like, I feel like we're getting the better of this exchange, quite frankly."
I kind of agreed with Kaladin here. I was like, why is Dalinar not seeing like that logic? I know that you don't want it to draw out and you don't want to be like, "Oh, we're just going to go and spar with the fused." But like that, having that, I guess, a respect for your opposition, but also knowing when they've got you, like, you don't want to be provoking them and they come and annihilate you, then you're all gone. So I don't know. I'm keen for a Dalinar viewpoint at this point to get his take on what sort of happened over the last year. And because I when we first sort of heard from Kaladin that his strategy was, yeah, like there's a healthy respect, you pick a sparring partner and you go, it just seemed like the better option kind of for everybody. And like certainly the Alethi. Dalinar not being happy with that, I'm just not sure. Unless he's perceiving it to be Kaladin's not going to take action now. He's stuck. And if we remove him from this, then maybe there's action going to be taken. I don't know.
Yeah, and the only real explanation that I feel like he gives in this section for that is he's like, basically, it feels like you're not putting your all into this. It feels like that you and your men are not like going as hard as you can, and so in the long run, that's not what I want from soldiers, is to not put their all into the fight. But I agree that with you and Kaladin, that it's like there is a benefit here.
Okay, Blackthorn, how'd that work out for you in the past, mate?
Yeah. And Dalinar points out, like, well, you never even wanted to fight the Parshendi at first, like when you joined my army. And Kaladin's like, yeah, I don't like the idea of killing people who show us honor. And then also points out, it's like, yeah, honor was their god first, before humans showed up and brought odium. That's what we've learned from like the stuff from the past. So, it's not really a surprise that they're honorable. And then we kind of take a side bar here in the conversation where Dalinar's like, the skies are becoming more and more important, and we don't have enough honor sprint and Windrunners on our side. Not only that, but there's only 2 Radiant Orders that can fly, and we know that the other Radiant Order joined the other side. So yeah, that's kind of the Windrunners are kind of important.
I still gotta. I feel like we need to see some of that in action. Maybe Venli will encounter some of the Skybreakers because like I can't imagine the fused are that happy working alongside people like that. If
Mm,
from Venli's chapter, there's kind of a mention of, oh yeah, like we elevated this Moash dude and gave him a good name. Okay, and you're working with the Skybreakers. What's the deal there?
yeah. Well, even back in the last book, when Odium was declaring Dalinar was his champion, the fused guy's like, "Wait, what? We have to follow a human? Excuse me?" Like, yeah, they don't
Mm.
seem to love this.
Yeah, it's like, all right, the Skybreakers, Nail's just like, all right, we need to, like, the honorable thing to do is follow them. I don't know if they're going to be on board with that. You can't just rock up, like, can you imagine just rocking up in the middle of a war to someone who is ostensibly the enemy? It's like, we have decided to join your army. You will take us, and the enemy's just like, the hell we will. You are prisoners now.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, I mean, Odium seems to have a kind of larger sense of things, so maybe he would step in and be like, "Oh no, we're gonna use this," but maybe not. Yeah, that's. I want to see that
Mm.
conversation now that you say that.
Yeah. I mean, I get the appeal. It's like, oh, we've got like some of the enemy soldiers here, but if they're like, and they're working for us, like that can work. But like, there's no surprise element because the Alethi already know about the Skybreakers. So yeah, I'm not sure if the benefits outweigh the negatives for the on the Singer side at least.
Unless there's like a bit that, it's the herald, the actual herald that was there and was involved earlier. Maybe there's something to be said for that. Like,
I mean,
it's not people later who are assuming what the heralds said or did or didn't know or anything like that. Like the fact that Nail is actually involved. Okay.
I mean, maybe, but it also mean like, oh yeah, he was personally there for all the disasters in the past. He's personally responsible for a lot of them. Like, are we really letting this guy on the
Yeah.
team?
That's fair. He's probably killed a lot of these fused multiple times over hundreds of years. So yeah, it could be a personal thing there. Okay, yeah. Now I'm just really hoping we get that scene because I want to be a fly on the wall for that. So Syl says that her relatives can be difficult, and they still feel that the humans are dangerous because the betrayal of the Knights Radiant killed so many. And Callan's like, I mean, the other Spren are coming around, and she's like, yeah, well, Honor Spren are more rigid. And Dalinar just concludes, it's been 8 months without a new Honor Spren coming to us. Well, we got to do something, but I guess we'll talk about that later. And then he starts he starts buttering Kaladin up a little bit, like, you're the best, one of the best soldiers I've ever had the privilege of leading. You single-handedly built up the most important wing of my military. You're an inspiration to everyone who meets you. And you can just feel the butt coming.
But now I need to move you to special projects because I really can't have you in the role that I've already assigned for you. So thanks, bud.
It's time I relieved you of duty. I'm sorry. And Cal's like, what? No. And
it's like, no, it's okay. I'm going to promote that rock guy to your position. About that.
I don't know if that would be a good idea anyway, but
I know. It's just I saw the opportunity and had to take it.
But Dalinar immediately is like, no, okay. Like Kaladin says, I know how it seems, but and Dalinar's like, how does it seem? Like, diagnose yourself, Kaladin, and tell me what you see. And Kaladin doesn't want to, but as Dalinar lays it out for him, he's like, it's true. I mean, you're right. And at first, Kaladin is mad. He's like, I can't believe this. You were supposed to be different. And Dalinar's like, well, why? Why am I different from the other people you've led? Or that have led you? And Kaladin's like, because you don't throw us away, because you... And he can't even bring himself to say it. It's like, because you care about your men. And he's like, yeah, that's why he's doing this. Oh, damn it. Like, I walked right into that.
You just know Dalinar was like, oh, I've been waiting to bust this one out.
And Kaladin's like, his final thing is like, but what if I'm not there and something happens to one of them? Because I wasn't there to protect them. And Dalinar immediately has the response of like, but what if you are there and that's why something happens to one of them? Because you freeze up at the wrong moment or something. And Cal's like, oh, yeah, no, I couldn't do that. And so he says, look, I'm not demoting you. I want you to like train and teach and help us fight, just not on the front lines. And Kaladin brings up the really good point of like, well, but can I keep my oaths without fighting? I need to protect. Like, that's the whole Windrunner deal. And Dalinar's like, oh, there's a lot of ways to protect. Even in the old days, not all the Radiants actually went into battle. And Scylla's over here nodding, like, no, yeah, you can totally do this.
I had to stop just here for a minute. It's like, Kaladin, how dense can you be? You are a trained doctor. What is that if not someone who defends from death?
Yeah, who protects people. Exactly. You won't be the first celebrated soldier who's moved to a support position after seeing too many friends die. And he's like, if we get some new honor spren, then we're going to need somebody to oversee their training, and who could be better, basically. And Kaladin has kind of a final thing where it's like, because Dalinar says, like, there's no dishonor in giving yourself time to heal from the wounds that you've taken. And Kaladin's like, so I'll come back then. I'll take leave and then I'll come back. And Dalinar's like, I mean, if we feel that's the right thing to do, it's possible. Which is basically a no, but a really nice no. And Kaladin's like, I don't think I can train the other Windrunners. Like, I can't be with them and then send them off without me to die. And Donald's like, okay, well, if you want to request something else, like maybe logistics, battle planning, you want to be an ambassador, maybe? You got a big reputation. People would, be honored to have the Kaladin Stormblessed as their ambassador, as the ambassador there. And Kaladin concludes, it's like, okay, I'll think about it. And Donald's like, okay, well, you have 10 days to make your decision, and then I want you to report it to me. Which is hilarious, because that's exactly what he gave that honor spren. Like, I'll give you 10 days to think about if you want to bond to R'hllane. And then he takes off, and Kaladin looks over at his friends. The Windrunners hadn't lost any members in the fight today. They didn't know that there'd been a single profound casualty, and his name had been Kaladin Stormblessed. Which is a very dour way of looking at it, but I get it.
That's rough. Yeah.
And then we get a picture from a Singer fashion folio. It's like the ones that Adolin used to look at, except this is what the Singers are wearing.
This looks like the cover of a Singer romance novel.
I know, right? But I think it's one of the first good looks we've gotten at a couple of their different forms, because it says the male is war form and the female is nimble form. So you get an idea, a picture of kind of what these different forms look like.
Mm.
We move to 11, Passion and Courage, where the epigraph talks about how an iron cage creates an attractor. So you can create a fabrial that will like draw smoke towards it. With iron, man, who would have thought that iron could pull things?
Yep. It's like,
What?
it's all coming together.
And I love the way Brandon does this, where it's like, new discoveries lead us to believe it would be possible to create a repeller fabrial, but we don't know what metal to use yet. And all of us are like, steel, it's steel, try steel. Benefits of knowing Mistborn first. And so we cut to Venli, who's in Kholinar, and she's like, quickly, up the stairs, the lady returns. And we see that they have different names for these, like Kaladin calls these flying ones the heavenly ones. From the Singer perspective, they are the Shanaim, which I prefer to say heavenly ones, that's easier. And Venli is like the head servant for a fuse that we've met before, Leshwi. We met her recently fighting Kaladin, and before that with Moash. So
yeah, she's the reason Moash is still here, so we will never forgive her for that.
And this is really giving us a good rundown of kind of how the society is working now among the fused and the Singers, where it's like there's now like their culture is very stratified, where you've got the normal Singers who have like work form and war form, then forms of power like Venli's. She's now envoy form, which means you have a void spren in your gem heart, and those are called regals, the forms of power people. And then above that is the fused, who are the ancient souls in a modern body. And then maybe like Thunderclass and the Unmade, or even above that, but Venli even doesn't know much about those. And they've created these like towers in the middle of Kholinar that are just like open at the top, at least on two sides, I guess it says. And the flying fused come in and they land on top of the towers, and they have their whole retinue there waiting for them. And it does sound a little bit terrifying, quite honestly. And yeah, from the Alethi perspective, they're called the heavenly ones, and from Venli's, they're Shanaim, or those ones of the heavens, which is just a more complicated way of saying the same thing, but whatever. And apparently Leshwi is pretty high up the rankings among even the fused. She's not like the most powerful, but she's pretty high up there. There's 9 varieties called brands, which is, okay, if that's what you want to call them. A word that evokes the heat of a branding iron. All right. And Venli, the last listener, is the voice for Leshwi, which I don't know that it explains actually what that means exactly, but she seems to be like the head servant, kind of.
Yeah, she's just in charge of the house. It's been a while
She-
since Downton Abbey.
She also secretly is a Knight Radiant, she thinks. She's got Timber, the Spren, also in her gem heart. And Timber's like, well, you're not a Knight Radiant yet. You've only said the first ideal. It doesn't quite count. Leshwi shows up, and we have some new servants to bring before her to see if they are acceptable. The first one is Schumann, who is a singer, and Venli's trying to encourage Schumann to, passion. Among the fused, your passion will do you credit. And Leshwi basically makes her go over and stand right on the edge, and it's scary. And Leshwi's like, she seems kind of timid. And Finley's like, well, we're all timid at first. She'll get there. And then we've got another. Well, after a brief conversation about Kaladin, it's like, hey, did you kill him this time? And Leshwi's like, I fought him. His spren was there, though she did not appear to me. And he killed Lesian the Pursuer, which, hey, we found out that guy's name finally.
Yeah, I was just calling him Angry.
Yeah, that fits. He is newly reawakened, but always worms his way into the stories and minds of mortals. He takes great pride in it. So I guess that maybe we haven't seen the last of him.
Yeah, maybe not. Well, he'll just show up out of the blue. He seems pretty single-minded.
Yeah, no joke. But we've got another potential servant to introduce. You wanted a tailor who could experiment with new designs. Well, I found you a tailor. And I don't know whether to be happy that Adelin's tailor, Yokska, who we liked so much in the last book, is still alive, or sad that she did not manage to escape from the city, but she is here. And terrified. And Leshwi's like, yeah, no, we can't use a human for this job. But maybe have the human train some of our people to do the job.
Yep, classic. Got to train your replacements so they get all the credit and you don't. Typical.
Yep, exactly.
Working 9 to 5.
And Leshwi mentions that a human was raised to the title of He Who Quiets. And we've met that guy. So the status of humans in this new society is kind of unclear, and different fused feel different ways about it. And so Leshwi goes to meditate, she says, and Venli heads off with the servants. And then we find out that Venli has a whole other thing going on, where she is developing this plan that they're going to get a bunch of singers together, and then we're going to run off and start our own society away from the fuse trying to steal our bodies all the freaking time. Which I can understand how that would be an unpleasant thing to have to deal with.
I don't know about the practicality of it, because if they can take over your body at any time, what good's running away and forming a new society going to do?
Well, but they can't exactly. I think she says in this section that it's like there's some element of choice in it. Like you have to, on some level,
okay.
be willing to do it.
Right. Okay.
But you still end up, even if you personally don't end up getting taken, like the people disappear to become fused. It's not great.
No. And you wake up one morning and your family are all fused. Yay!
But this the new servant Schumann was personally chosen by her to become part of this movement. And Schumann's like, I'm ready. When do we attack the fuse? Let's get them. Each storm, I worry that I'll be next. And this is where Venli's like, I've seen the transformation. You have to accept the soul of a fused in your body. It has some element of agency to it. But that's difficult to define. Because for one thing, even just letting a void spren into you to become a regal, like Venli is, that changes your personality. It lets Odium kind of alter you in some ways, which maybe makes you more willing to do that kind of thing. And so Venli, who was the one who found the storm form in the first place, started them all on this path, is now like, I want out. Let's
I regret my decisions, and yeah, this is not what I'd say this is not what I signed up for. This is not really what I had envisioned.
yeah.
On you, Bentley.
This is not what I thought I signed up for.
Do I still have the receipt for this storm form? Do you think Odium does refunds?
Probably not.
Mm.
Lost her sister, lost her mom as far as she knows. In the last book, the way she was talking to that Spren, she seemed to think like I should be in charge now. Like we did this, and the Spren's like, "You're adorable." No. So
Whatever happened to
yeah,
that Spren? Is he still around somewhere?
this is a good question. We haven't seen him in a long while.
What was his name? Udam?
His name was Ulim.
Ulim. Close.
Yep. I think that was one of the Jeopardy questions, if I remember right.
Yeah, that's why. That's the only reason I still remember him. Honestly, 'cause it's been ages since we saw him.
Yeah. Let's see. They have spheres filled with void light, which is like stormlight, but it comes from Odium, and they seem to use it for their powers here. And Venli can use it to look into Shadesmar and make sure there's no Spren like hanging around spying on them, which is a very useful skill. So yeah, she has to lay it out for this lady. Like, no, we're not going to start a revolution. We're not going to try to kill the fused. I doubt that they could find support for that position in the first place. But whatever. It's like, no, we're going to try to run away and go someplace that they can't find us and start our own thing. And maybe we can be like unimportant enough that they won't care enough to kill us, basically. But also she thinks like some of the fused we might be able to convince to be impressed by our passion to start our own thing. Because the fused aren't all the same. Like they have very different opinions on stuff. And she also notes in her own mind, like the fused are always talking about how like they're fighting this war to give this world back to the singers. But a lot of them have been fighting for so long that it's really just about fighting, about revenge and proving that their side is right. And Schumann's over here like, okay, well, forgive me about not being sure about this plan, but they summoned rock monsters taller than the storming city wall. I don't think that we can win this against them like that. And Venli Venli says, well, we've got a Regal on our side too. I have a Void Spren in my gem heart, but I figured out how to like control. And maybe I can share the process with the others once I've perfected it. She's really skirting around what's actually happening there. And she's like, and the Spren used to be allies of us, and a lot of them are pissed off at the humans. Maybe, that we will have allies if we decide to move. And the conversation ends when Leshwi shows back up. Gather yourself, last listener. Something is happening, something dangerous. I fear the war is about to take a distinctly different turn. And that's the end of that section. So, yeah, cliffhanger. I want to know what the heck that's about.
Ominous.
And our last chapter for today was A Way to Help, chapter 12. And the epigraph is not about the metals or anything specifically anymore. It's like, Artifabrians keep, like, trying to hide all their secrets from everybody else. Can we please work together and share knowledge? Navani's trying real hard. And all of Kaladin's bridge crew, except for Dabid and R'lain and Rock, although Rock is kind of something else in his own right now, Kaladin says, they've all gone on. They have Spren. They have their own squires now, so Kaladin doesn't really have anybody left. And Dabid has never recovered from his battle shock. He doesn't talk. R'lain is, will hopefully soon have a Spren. So now that he's moving out of this active role, he doesn't really even have anybody that needs to transition out from under him unless you count the entire platoon of Windrunners. And he notes that everyone's being kind of nice to him. Like Sigzil, showing admirable restraint, told him the battle reports could wait until tomorrow. And he's like, holy shit, how bad do I look that he's like, he says that. And Rock has an appointment he has to get to. Even Teft gets pulled off by a different group, though his squires had been in Bridge 13. And most of them have become Radiants too. He's like, I don't even know how many squires Teft has at this point. Everyone's advancing. Look at that. And some of the groups invite him to go with them. And he turns everybody down. And it's like he's being the good commander. He just gives them the nod. You run along. I got important stuff to be about. And it says nobody pushed him, though he wished that one of them would. But these days they all have their own lives and families and duties. And so Syl takes off and he manages to make it back to his room, walking tall. And then he just like collapses inside his room. Exhaustion Spren and Agony Spren, like upside down faces carved from stone, which I don't remember if we've heard of those before, but I don't like the sound of them.
That sounds awful.
I don't remember this kind of Spren. No, it's like, oh man, like that's like losing the Spren lottery.
Yeah. And all alone in the dark in his room, the stuff that Moash says coming back to him. You're just going to keep hurting. They're all going to die, and there's nothing you can do about it, and there's only one way out. And yeah, he is starting to spiral pretty badly here. until a knock comes at the door, and he doesn't answer the knock, but it keeps knocking. And then at some point he's like, oh man, this person's just going to come in, aren't they? And then sure enough, Adolin Colin storms in with Syl on his shoulder. And Adolin is wearing uniforms with a little extra embellishment on them these days, which his dad doesn't like, but apparently Adolin doesn't care so much.
I just imagine.
Classic Adolin rebellion.
I just imagine this conversation between Dalinar and Adolin. It's just like Adolin, get those patches off your sleeves. And Aelin's like, Dad, do you really hate the patches, or do you really hate who killed Sadeas? And Dalinar's like,
you don't have to be jealous, Dad. I know you wanted to just shot at him, but really, Kaladin probably wanted a shot at him. But what can you do? Kaladin didn't even get Amaram. He didn't get to kill any of the bad guys.
There's still Moash.
Oh, so yeah, it's true. Moash is still out there ready to get his turn. Yep. And Adolin's like, oh, Rock said that he thought you were heading for your room. And Count's like, yeah, because I want to be alone. And he's like, yeah, you spend too many evenings alone. Come on. I like being by myself. He's like, great, sounds awful. Today you're coming with me. And Kaladin goes hard. He's like, maybe I just don't want to be around you, Adolin. And then Adolin looks at Kaladin and he's like, tell me honestly, with an oath, that you should be left alone tonight. Swear to me. And Kaladin can't do it. He's just like, storm you. And Adolin's like, great, come on. Bright Lord Master High Marshal Stormface, change your coat to one that doesn't smell like smoke. We got places to be. And Kaladin's over here like, Syl, you traitor. Your first thought was to get Adolin? Yeah, I needed someone you couldn't intimidate, and that's like 3 people. And the queen would probably turn you into a crystal goblet or something. I can't imagine this scene if Yasna was the one who showed up at the door.
I would have had enough of your bullshit and just gotten on with it. I don't have time for this.
Yasna just walks and just slaps, does the whole slap in the face. It's like, will you cheer up?
I might pay to have seen that version of the scene, actually, yeah, but okay. So they go out.
We've still really only seen Kaladin and Yasna talk once, and it was pretty clear they did not get on. So,
yeah, it's funny how much they were at odds for having this being their first conversation, basically. Which usually there's a feeling each other out period, especially when you've got a queen, or not. She wasn't a queen at the time, maybe, but still very important. Light eyes, but Kaladin does not take shit from anybody. And Yasna does not take shit from anybody, and so it was kind of doomed to go that way, probably.
Yeah, it was like the ultimate. Kaladin don't like light eyes, especially those who don't really seem to care about other people. And we like Yasna. Yasna's firmly on the side of good, but she does not fit Kaladin's criteria.
Yeah, Yasna's not big on feelings over facts, and Kaladin is a lot about feeling.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just storms into the room and it's like, why am I dealing with this? I have a country to run and I am having to look after you because your friend said so. Come on, man.
So they're going to a bar, a wine house. And Adolin, Kaladin just describes as the kind of general who drinks with his men and learns the names of every soldier. Dalinar does not approve of that. And in most cases, Kaladin is on Dalinar's side there, but this is Adolin. You can't stop Adolin from being Adolin. He just makes it work somehow. And he's like, hey, Rock and his family are over here. What is going on? And what we find out is that this is a celebration of a wedding at this wine house. And so I guess that's why all of these people are here. For people that Kaladin doesn't know. Because he doesn't have time to pay attention to that sort of thing.
So he's crashed the wedding?
I think this is the after party or something. But it's also still just a wine house. So I guess, other people are probably here.
This guy's just like, Adolin, you have a +1. You brought your wife already.
That's like a +3. So,
well, no, that's not common knowledge though.
Maybe not. Yeah, fair point.
And they're still only going to eat enough for one.
Syl loves the a big gathering like this, and she starts flying off to listen to people talk invisibly. And we get to the table where Vale is sitting. And we find out that she's been doing this thing where, depending on who she is right now, she changes the color of her hair, which is very convenient for other people and considerate, I feel like, so that we know who we're talking to. And Kaladin says, hey, Vale, so is it just going to be you, or is Shallan going to show up? And Vale's like, yeah, nah, she probably won't. She's had a busy day. she needs to rest. And Kaladin's like, man, it must be nice to be able to just be someone else when you get too tired. And the serving girl comes up and asks them what they want, and Kaladin says orange, which, if we'll remember, is like, I think it's either the least alcoholic or the second least alcoholic. Yeah, it's the second. Like pink is the least, and orange is fruity with notes of ginger.
Yeah, so non-alcoholic ginger beer. Gotcha.
Basically. And the girl's like, what? Orange? A man like you can handle something stronger than that. It's a party. And Vale's over here like, he said orange. Just bring him what he asked for.
I mean, yeah, I was like, you're the wait staff. You bring people what they ask for. You don't just... He says this is what he wants. You don't then get to say, hey, you should have something else. Like, come on.
It is a little bit forward. I thought maybe she was trying to flirt with him a little bit or something, but yeah, I don't know.
Not while you're working.
I have waited tables, and I definitely, if someone asked for a recommendation, sure, but I've never been like, yeah, you don't want that, you want this.
Absolutely. I knew a guy once. He was a DJ, not a very good one, I'll be honest. And like he stopped getting gigs because he would work at the nightclubs, and they would say, "All right, here's the sort of stuff you want to play," and he would just go, "That's garbage. I'm going to get you to play some real music." And surprisingly, the gigs dried up. He could never figure out why.
Who would have thought?
Just never occurred to him that him going, "I know better," might not have gone down so well.
I have also known people, in not DJs specifically, but in various jobs like that, where they're just like, if there's a matter of opinion, they assume that, well, I know better, obviously, than the people who are paying me to do what they want. So it doesn't tend to go well. Yeah.
No.
And Kaladin is keeping to the codes because Dalinar keeps to the codes. But also, he's like, it seems like when you're in one of these bad moods that alcohol would help you forget, but it somehow just makes the darkness worse. Which, yeah, alcohol is a depressant. That's what it does.
Yeah.
It's good that he's recognized that at least. And so they both kind of consult about their missions. Like, hey, I hear your mission went well. You got a town and the mink. And he's like, yeah, and what about your mission? And she's like, oh, you should have seen it. Iolai was basically a skeleton. Pity somebody murdered her. He's like, wait, what? Yeah, somebody offed her. One of our people, unfortunately. That's a secret, by the way. We're telling everyone she killed herself. And he's like,
yeah, very, very good, Vale.
He's like, we're in the middle of a wine house, dude. What the heck? And she's like, well, our booth is isolated. It's fine.
Yeah, we already have one person at the table who Spren likes to go and eavesdrop.
Yeah. Who knows what else? What other Spren could be hanging around?
Yep.
Yeah, her hair changes to blonde, which is the color when she's being Radiant, and Radiant's like, do get a full report from Dalinar later. There were some oddities. And Radiant is the one who comes out. It's like, there are like some half-formed personas. It's like they're out there just waiting to see if 3 can really work. Shallan wouldn't want me to tell you this, but as her friend, you should know. And he's like, well, I don't know what I can do to help. I can barely handle myself. And Radiant's like, you being here helps. And I know Kaladin's like, does it really? Like, I feel like when I'm in one of these moods, I just make everyone around me more depressed, really, more sadder. Could people really want me around?
I gotta say, like, I've never really warmed to Radiant, but this is a nice little interaction.
Yeah.
Like, she's just being a straight shooter with Kaladin. It's like, no, you're a good dude. We're all good.
Actually, very helpful to have. You all know how I feel about communication. It's very helpful just to have someone come forward and tell you something. Like, thank you, Radiant. I really appreciate you.
But it's in a way that Kaladin appreciates. I feel like if Vale had told him in her way, it wouldn't have had the desired effect. But Radiant being the one to do it and just be like blunt forward, it's like, yeah, no, this works for Kaladin. This is what Kaladin needed.
Person who comes out and just like tells you the stuff that other people are dancing around I absolutely see how that could be Jamie's favorite of the personalities, where it's like, here's the deal. And the barmaid comes back and it's like, here's your drink. If you decide you want to try that yellow, like, are you getting paid by somebody to push the yellow? I don't know.
This bar is sponsored by Heatap.
And Adelin's like, hey, thanks, Mel, but he doesn't need anything to drink today. And she smiles at him and she's like, oh, okay. Like, she takes it much better than when anybody else said this, because everyone likes Adelin. And yeah, so Vale's like, so how's the groom? And Callan's over here like, groom? And Adlin's like, yeah, it's a wedding party for Jor? Duh. And Callan's like, who? Who's Jor? And Callan, we've been coming to this place for 8 months. How do you not know Jor?
I don't know Jor. Who's Jor again? Do we know that name?
No, I don't think we know anything about Jor.
Okay,
We're with
cool.
Kaladin here.
Yeah, but we don't live there. They're right. Kaladin should know.
Yeah, probably. But Adolin points out, it's like, no, Kaladin thinks like a soldier. He's like my dad. He knows everything about his squad. Everybody who serves under him, he knows every detail. But he doesn't have time or room in his head for other extraneous stuff.
Which, again, like Adolin, best dude, knows all about his buddies.
Yeah.
Even if like his buddy's just like, shut up.
Like, Kaladin clearly does not approach things the same way as Adolin. Like, Adolin knows everybody. Everybody likes Adolin. Kaladin doesn't know anybody's name. But Adolin's like, no, I get it. Like, I know, like, Kaladin does this completely differently than me, but I get it. And, you know, his way is a valid way to do things. That's some pretty good friending right there. Meanwhile, Vale is like, so who are we going to hook Kaladin up with? Who are we going to hook Kaladin up with next? And Kaladin's like, he doesn't need to be fixed up with anyone. And Vale's like, well, that's not what Syl says.
Syl is not an objective party in that.
The great line of, Syl used to think human children came out through the nose in a particularly violent sneeze. She's not an authority. And then Patterns on the table, unseen, like, buzzes, like, hey, how do they come out? I've always wondered.
Oh no, we're going to get the mating talk again.
They really need to spread an education program for these things.
Yes, absolutely. Vale's just like, I'll explain later. Ooh, or better yet, ask Shalon. She'll love that.
I'm trying to think of a Rosharan equivalent of the birds and the bees, and it's not coming to me. Like the chull and the chull and the creme. There we go.
The creme. That's just like goop. I don't.
Yeah, but we thought like fine. The chull and the cremlings. There we go.
Okay. Though there's a big size difference there, but I guess there's a big size difference between birds and bees. So okay.
Yeah.
Adolin's like, I mean, yeah, the ladies have a point. You have been extra sulky since Lynn broke up with you. And Vale's like, yeah, what about Hem over there? She's tall. And Cal's like, great, tall. Because we're roughly the same height, we're sure to get along. And Vale is like, oh, look at those legs. Back me up, Adolin. And Adolin's like, I mean, yeah, she's attractive. That blouse isn't great on her. Oh, and then the conversation of like, what about Kaw's sister? She's smart. You like smart girls. And Cal's like, I mean, does somebody not like smart girls? And Vale's like, yeah, give me dumb ones, please. They're easy to impress.
Is Vale trying to pick up?
So Vale seems pretty clearly like bi here. I don't know how comfortable Shalon is with that, but maybe we had discussions about Shalon and the way she looked at Yasno, where it was like, maybe Shalon has some deeper stuff going on here.
That's got to be odd to explain to your husband. It's like, by the way, like, kind of got to think for your cousin. Ugh.
Yeah, that would be. And then Adolin points out a girl. Like, what about her? Some newcomers came in. She's the daughter of one of Father's generals and loves talking strategy. I can introduce you. And Callan's like, please don't. And Vale's over here like, hey, you courted her, right? Yeah, how'd you know? Adolin, swing a Herdazian in a crowded room and you'll hit 6 women you courted. Those aren't real, are they? She pads, right? Like, what is this conversation with your...
Hang on. Back up a second. Swing a Herdazian? What?
Is that the expression? Like, I totally believe the Alethi would have that expression, actually.
Yeah.
Man, I keep finding ways to get disappointed in the Alethi culture. It's like, those are people!
Honestly,
Lopin might enjoy it. I don't know.
Yeah, but Lopin's weird.
Lopin probably started it.
Yeah. It was Lopin's idea.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe it originated from like a swinger Herdazian in a room and you'll hit 6 cousins or something.
Yeah.
Vale's adapted it.
And, like, Adolin does not want to discuss the breasts of a woman he dated with Vale, and she keeps trying to push it. It's like, what? I'm your wife. And he's like, you are not my wife. He's like, well, I share a body with her. Close enough. And Kaladin's over here like, you guys have the weirdest relationship, for real. Which is totally true. And then Vale goes off to ostensibly find the barmaid, but really she ends up joining a game of something or other and is gone for a good while. Then there's the note, Adelin's like, I hate the idea of fighting our own. We're supposed to be moving on to better things. And Callan's like, says the man who killed Sadius. Although that's still not common knowledge. And then Adolin kind of prods Kaladin a bit after a while, and he admits, like, your father relieved me of duty. He thinks I'm not fit for battle anymore. And Adolin's like, oh, well, we'll fight that. And Kaladin's like, no, like, he's right.
But again, Adolin is just like he sees Kaladin, like gets Kaladin to open up. Kaladin admits that, this is bothering me, and Aelin's like, I'm in your corner. We'll talk to my dad.
Yeah.
Hey, goddamn. Adolin, best lad.
Even after Kaladin's like, no, I mean, he's right. And I've known it for months. And Adolin's like, okay, so what do we do?
Yeah, just accepts it instantly. He's just like, whatever's best for you, man.
Yeah. Also, Adolin has a gift for the bride and groom, we find out, which is cute. It's like, he didn't just show up at this party for some dark eyes. He even brought along a gift for their wedding. Good guy, Adolin. My gosh, just like every time it gets better. But
it's going to come as such a shock when eventually one day, who knows when, I'm going to reread the first book and we'll get first book Adolin and I'll just go, what?
I mean, he spent so long in that first book thinking Dalinar was going crazy, and so that's a bad situation to be in.
Yeah, I guess.
And we find out that Adolin and his father are kind of at odds a little bit. He's like, half the city thinks he's like a herald reborn, but he's only a man, and he's been wrong before. Terribly wrong. So the book, handwritten by the Blackthorn, it's not finished officially yet, but drafts have been making the rounds. So he admits in the book to what happened to his wife, and so now Adolin knows about the death of his mom. That would probably mess you up.
I really hope that's a discussion that Dalinar had with Adolin and Renarin before it went around. Like, I can't imagine that one, it wouldn't have gone down well. I'm sure it wouldn't have gone down well, even though, like, it was never his intention to kill Evie.
Mm-hmm.
It's still, a really hard thing, especially for your children to come to terms with. I really, really hope that's how they found out, though, and not in a draft of a book or someone said something, or like that would be awful.
I get the feeling if they found out because they read it in the book, there would be no talking to Dalinar from Adolin at that point.
Yeah, I mean, but it doesn't sound like Adolin and Dalinar are on particularly good terms at the moment.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Adolin in his small way, but like a small action, like Adolin was always like, I dislike the way my father does it in terms of like uniform and, but I get it and I'll follow him and this is how we're going to do it. And now, like, it's almost a quiet act of rebellion by having the embroidery, on his jacket sleeve, matching his boots and all that sort of stuff. It's a small thing, but for Adolin, that's a big thing. And I feel like that's a really distinct path shift. Like, he won't disrespect his father in public, but these quiet things, it's like, well, you know what? Dalinar won't like that. Dalinar won't like that. It's like, well, you know what? Actually, I'm less about what Dalinar would like and more about how I want to live my life. I'm still, like, I'm not going out there and being an absolute jerk to everyone, but I don't stand with you entirely. And I think it speaks a lot more than what we're seeing on page at the moment.
Yeah, well, and we saw before that Adolin, like, these are things that Adolin kind of wanted to do, but his dad was like very strict about this uniform type stuff, and he was like, okay, I do what dad says. And so you're right, it kind of very quietly speaks in a specific way about, like, well, I'm not bowing to his whims on this kind of thing anymore.
Yeah.
Jeez, but could you imagine, like, you're walking around and you haven't read like, Adolin or Renarin hasn't read this, and somebody makes an offhand comment about this, and it's like, wait, excuse me?
Yeah.
Like,
You're ready to tell this in your memoir, but not actually tell us? Okay.
Yeah.
It does seem like, and I've brought this up before a few other times, it's like, sometimes when Brand writes books, he, like, glazes over bits. I'm like, I feel like we needed to see that. This seems like a very critical part of the character's narrative.
Yeah, you've definitely spotted things like that before where you're like, how are we not seeing that? Yeah. Probably a lot of things happened in this past year that we've skipped between books that we would have liked to see.
Yeah, but this feels like an egregiously big one.
Fair. But Adolin concludes, he's like, look, I'm not a surgeon. I'm not the general that my father is, but I think you don't need to be taken away from combat permanently. You need something else. I don't know what that is, but we can figure this out. There's got to be some way to help you. And Adolin ostensibly changes the subject. He's like, if we can find a way to help you, maybe we can find a way to help her, my wife.
Stop, back up.
Yeah.
He gets that point because Kaladin goes, why do you care? What does it matter? I'm like, Kaladin, he is your friend. Get over yourself.
Who would have thought that your friend would care about you?
Yeah.
I still don't like that he calls him Bridge Boy because it still feels demeaning to me, but I get that it's like a term of endearment here. Whatever.
But you got to remember too, the place that Kaladin is in at the moment, having friends and knowing you have friends doesn't stop what you hear in your head. Like, you can see he's having conversations with people, and then that internal monologue goes, oh, but like they're only here because they have to be, or only like those thoughts win. And so it's really hard to be like, oh, someone is actually caring about me. Like, I feel like that's sort of response, even though you know you have a friend.
Yeah.
Believing it is really difficult. And I think that's a really genuine response from Cal. Like, why do you care? Like, you don't care. I'm useful to you, so therefore I'm here.
Yeah.
It's like, you got to stop and like people actually care about you. And that's, if you're in that situation and having those thoughts, that's a really hard thing to believe.
That's a fair point. I think where my mind went was less about what was being said and more who was saying it. Like, because it was Adolin, there's always been that friction between the two. If it had been anyone else and he'd had that reaction, that would have, I guess, been a bit more obvious. I think I'm still on the, does Kaladin really not see Adolin as his friend? But you raise an excellent point.
I think at this point, yeah, like if anyone is his friend, he has to acknowledge that Adolin is. But it can be really hard in the depths of one of these, like what he calls his moods, to believe the things that people are saying when they conflict with the way you're seeing yourself. Well, yeah, which is just all the better that he has Adolin there to constantly retell him these things until it kind of like badgers through his walls a little bit. But yeah, he's like, maybe if we can help you, we can help my wife and the problems that she's having, which are different from yours, but still. And Pattern is here to be like, I mean, yeah, you're right. She hides it, but things are still wrong. And Adolin's like, I can see how much it hurts her, how much she's sliding more slowly than before, but she needs help, and I don't know how to give it to her. And Kaladin's like, I don't know, like from a physician standpoint, like we're not trained to deal with mental issues. We're trained to deal with physical stuff. All we can do with people who are sick in the mind is send them to the Ardents. And Pattern's like, I mean, should I go talk to the Ardents for her? And Cal's like, I don't know. I mean, Wit maybe knows some stuff that will help. He seems to know all kinds of crazy stuff. And Adolin's like, well, but what advice would you give me? And Kaladin starts giving him advice and then realizes that it's exactly the stuff that Adolin has been trying to do to help him. And Adolin's like smirking at him, and he's like, damnation, did I really let Adolin outsmart me? Maybe something is wrong with me. And Kaladin transitions it into like, yeah, we need to get you a spren, Adolin. Why hasn't one of the orders picked you up? Maybe it's that sword of yours. Shard bearers always do better if they drop the old shards. And Adolin's like, I'm not getting rid of Maya. And Kaladin kind of pushes a little bit, and he's like, no, I am not getting rid of Maya. Leave it. It's like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. Like you don't need the spren to be special on this planet.
No. Adolin is proving this, yeah.
This is the soccer thing in Avatar. He's surrounded by all these people with amazing powers, but he's brilliant in his own way without them.
Yes, and I love that they didn't try to like somehow give Sokka magical powers. He got to be an expert swordsman with very little training, but
he's a brilliant strategist and tactician.
Yeah, but I appreciate having like the non-bender in the group and proving that they are just as useful in their own ways. You get the same with Asami in the second in Korra, although she almost has her own superpowers with like electric gadgets and driving her car and stuff. But also,
yeah, she's like the Iron Man when you're surrounded by Thors and Captain America.
Yeah, she also has the Batman and Iron Man superpower of being rich, which never hurts.
Also valid.
Syl comes back. I want to decide she wants to take up gambling, and Kaladin, he's not feeling great. He's still miserable, but being around others is helping. He discovers, and he's like, "Hey, Adolin was right. Damn it!" And then we get Rock, and Rock is like, "It's time," and Kaladin's like, "Do we got to do this now, Rock? This is not my best time." And Rock's like, "I mean, that's what you said the last like several times I wanted to talk about this. He has the shards from Amaram, and they're for his people. They're gathering dust in a box. He's got to go. Cord says Alethi and Horneater traditions are both foolish. First shard bearer among my people.
She's not
is a
wrong.
young woman. Traditions are often kind of silly. It's true. And so he's like, I have to go back. I have to face what I did. And Cal's like, well, you saved my life. And he's like, I made that choice because you're worth the sacrifice. But it's not a sacrifice unless I go back and seek justice from my people. So I'm leaving, and I'd like to go with your blessing. 2 of his kids are staying, Cord and Gift. They both want to stay. And Kaladin's looking for any excuse, like, but Moash is out there. Maybe he'll come after you. And Rock's like, maybe I'll have Scar and Drahi. They say they want to see the peaks. Maybe I'll let them fly us there, so we don't have to walk across the stupid lowlands. And Kaladin's like, hey, I could go. Like, he even thinks Rock's like hinting at something like, hey, maybe you could offer to take me there. And Kaladin's like, well, that would be a great thing for me to do. I can't go into battle like with the army anymore, but I could be helping my friend. But no, I can't just run off like a child. And also, if we get up there and Rock is punished for what he did for me, I'm not going to be able to hold myself back. So yeah, this would be a bad idea.
News out of Urithiru today. The captain of the Runners was arrested for war crimes in the Horneater Peaks.
Yeah. And so Cal's like, yeah, okay, I give my blessing for you and anyone who wants to go with you and have a short leave to do that. A Windrunner honor guard, you deserve that and more. And Cal's like, will you come back after? If you can? And Rock says, this thing I've done with you all here, he is the end. When we meet again, I suspect it shall not be in this world, this life. So that's not super encouraging. Don't like to hear that. But he's like, you gave me back my life, Kaladin. Don't be sad that I now choose to live that life. And then he gives him a warning. Hey, there's a powerful god here, but he's tricky. You should not have lost his flute. Which we're not going to ever let Kaladin forget that. He's like, I don't think wit is a god, Rock. And he's like, airsick as always. Like, duh, he's obviously a god. How do you not know this? And then they leave. Rock goes to his wife, and they walk out the door, and they're gone. It's forever, it says. And Kaladin thinks, as he slumps back down, at least Rock won't know like what happened to him. That he had to be relieved, and it's like he can spend the rest of his days thinking his captain had remained strong all of his days. And that's the end of our section.
Definitely feels final. Like, all right, this is Rock leaving, at least for a while. Like, which is pretty sad because Rock was his first recruit way back when.
Yeah, he was. And I will say that Brandon has been talking for a while about writing a novella called Horneater that would talk about what happens next with Rock.
Oh.
But we have not gotten that yet. It's one of those things where he's like, I'm going to write it here, and then something came up and he couldn't write it then, and now he's working on scripts and things, so who knows when we'll eventually get it. But
yeah, that's right. Gives us time to catch up.
Predicaments. So, where are we going? What do you guys think is going to happen now that we've wound down from the big opening? We're almost 15% of the way through the book. And specifically, do you have any thoughts about, like, Kaladin's got to find something else to do with himself now. He's got 10 days to tell Dalinar what he wants to do. Any thoughts about what he'll pick?
Wait, which chapters are we doing?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I didn't do that. I don't even have the list up. Look at me being all behind here. Okay, chapters. There it is. For next time, we are doing 2 more chapters. That will be chapters 13 and 14. Chapter 13 is called Another Hunt, and chapter 14 is called Voice. So there you go. What do you guys think?
Chapter titles give me nothing. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know where we're going. I feel like Kaladin, I think his dad's probably going to be happy that he's been removed from office. And so Kaladin's not going to be happy because he'll have to say, oh, Dad was right. And he's not going to feel good about that. But I don't really know what he's going to be up to this book. I don't know, what trials he's going to go through. I feel like maybe he's going to try and this could be kind of a tragedy sort of thing. He is trying to take a step back as he's been told because he knows it's the right thing to do, but he just keeps getting dragged back into it. We know Moash is after him. We know this. I feel like this Lesian, the pursuer guy, is going to be coming after him because that seemed pretty personal. So, but yeah, he's trying to be the good. He's maybe become a general. He's directing troops, but he's not going out on the battlefield with them because he still knows his tactics and he knows how the Windrunners operate. He knows the best way to get them to do their thing. But it's going to be difficult, and especially difficult when he's got two very dangerous people after him specifically. So I guess maybe that's the way he keeps trying to get out and he just can't. He keeps getting pulled back into this conflict, into the actual battles.
They keep pulling me back in. Okay.
Yeah. That's about all I got, really. Like, I know it's not a lot to go on, but
I feel like that would be pretty classic. Is like we're taking Kaladin out of the battle, but then the battle it comes to Kaladin because that's what always happens, right? They're always you try to get out and they're pulling you back in.
Yeah, and it's just not going to be good for his mental state. It's only going to get harder and harder and harder because that's exactly what we're trying to avoid. But yeah, there we are.
Yeah, that's a really good point because we're pulling him out because he's of his mental state, and if he
himself acknowledges that's the right thing to do.
Exactly, he acknowledges that he's in a bad place. If he's forced back in, that's not going to put him in a better place. Probably, you're right.
No,
good call. Okay, Jamie.
Okay, so the first chapter title, I don't know. I don't know what to expect out of that one. But voice has got to be another vanity perspective, which is probably good because whatever Lucy has got to say is probably going to affect everybody. So I'd rather know a bit about that sort of upfront. Kaladin, I don't think his battle days are done. I do think he'll end up having to be pulled back in one way or another. Could be like catastrophic, and then they'll have no choice but to have Kaladin back involved. Like help us Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're our only hope sort of situation. I doubt it'll be within the next 10 days though, but I do think long term Kaladin will find himself back there. I think he will be able to say the fourth ideal, but he's got to get through what he's currently going through and have a way to manage it. And just because we haven't seen people recover from that battle burnout, it doesn't mean they can't, but it's a hell of a lot of work to get there and support and tools and things. So I really hope Kaladin can get through it and then he's in a position to be able to say the fourth ideal. I feel like there's a lot more, obviously there's a lot more of this book, but there's still a lot more of Stormlight to go to lose Kaladin this early, relatively early in the piece. Having said that, I do think he could be, I don't think it would be a really good opportunity for him to maybe work alongside his father and then, hone in on the surgeon skills and maybe be able to look after people in that regard. There's also a chance then he actually does end up back at the battlefront that way, helping people, and then ends up being back as a Windrunner or something. I'm like, in terms of the fighting. So I don't know. I feel like that would be sort of a natural route, but if he's going to make that decision in 10 days, we're going to need to see something with his dad, I think. Maybe the kind of discussion with a Patton going to find the Ardents and ask them questions and stuff like that. Maybe that will prompt something. Maybe Shallan Vale Radiant becomes someone he can try and help and sort of learn and grow, and with that help himself as he can. That's my hope. Anyway, I hope everything comes up Kaladin at some point. I don't necessarily think it'll be in this book. I think it's a long-term thing for him, but we're going to need to see some progression. I don't see Kaladin being stuck where he is now. Regarding Rock, it does seem very final. I do hope we see him again in one way or another, but who knows? Maybe we won't. I don't know. I'd love to know what happens to him, but like you said, we don't have that story yet. So even if we do get that story, it's going to be a long time before we get to it. So yeah, I'd like to think we see him again in this life, but yeah, I don't know. It's just sad. But, not everyone can stay around forever, and it is natural. It's a part of life to lose people, not only to death on the battlefield. So yeah, that was a bit of a hard goodbye for Rock. Yeah, I don't really have much more than that at this point. in terms of what could be coming for the future, I just don't know. I feel like we just don't have enough on their side of things yet to go, okay, what's really bad? Like they wouldn't have word that Kaladin is stepping down. Something big's coming. Maybe we're gonna see Odium's presence a little bit earlier in this book or influence somehow. Yeah. I don't know.
Okay. So you're thinking that Kaladin may go and kind of help out his father and move more into that sort of like healing people version?
Yeah, well, because they're on their way back to Shadow Plains and Urithiru now anyway, I believe. So it makes sense to kind of have them have a little bit more interaction with each other. It'd be weird to be like, yeah, my dad's in the city, but I'm not going to go and talk to him. You know, and it may not be straight away like through his dad. Maybe he'll be talking to his mum and, you know, some family time is probably good. Maybe we get a little bit more of the little brother and, you know, some more time together and it kind of becomes a bit of a natural progression. But yeah, I can't see him just taking like a sideways shift where he is. I also can't see him like he has to do something to continue to help people. It's just it's in his nature as well. It sort of doesn't matter what he's going through. He needs to be able to help people. It's what he does. So yeah, I could see it.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that would make sense.
Hmm.
Okay, well, I guess we'll cut it there. All right, let me just grab a couple of these emails, and I don't think we have any new patrons, but if we did, we'd hold this off for Joe to be back anyway. So we have one from Tyler. The title of the email is "How Dare You?" It says, Tyler from St. George, Utah here. I'm not a big music guy because growing up in the 90s, Harry Potter audiobook tapes were everything I could ever want. Since then, I've been sci-fi fantasy audiobook guy and rarely listen to anything else. After listening to Wind and Truth, I was sad because I just wanted more Cosmere. A friend recommended your podcast. A podcast? The last thing I would ever want to do is listen to people discuss a book when I could just listen to the book. Just to appease him, I listened to the first episode on YouTube. 2 months later, I am almost caught up. So I repeat, how dare you? I can't listen to the books anymore because I miss the quick and long summaries, predicaments, and fun banter that you guys provide. I had someone else recommend the Malazan series, and I tried the first book and was immediately confused. So I tried to find a good podcast. I repeat, how dare you? There's nothing even close to what you guys provide. I feel like I've just finished watching Lord of the Rings trilogy. I was happy because that was the best thing I'd seen, but sad because nothing else comes close. How dare you for making such a good podcast and leaving me to start over because there's no way I can wait for an episode a week. P.S. I started listening to Wind and Truth for the second time, and 20 seconds in, I got bored and thought, I can't wait till the Sanderlanche get here.
We'll see you in a couple of years.
Yeah, right. I also tried reading the first book of the Malazan series and was immediately like, what on earth are we doing? So I get that. One of these days I'm going to go back and give it another shot, but it was heavy. But I'm glad that you're enjoying it. There are some great first-time reader podcasts out there you can find for if you want some other Cosmere ones. We've talked about others before, but also there's some fun Wheel of Time ones if you've never read Wheel of Time, or the Dresden Files, or if you want to read Dungeon Crawler Carl, you can check out the other Sanderlanche Podcast Network podcast, Don't Gaslight Me, Jesus, and enjoy that. But thank you, Tyler. I'm glad that you found something you enjoyed, and sad that you're all through it now.
That's a lot to get through in 2 months. Well done.
I know, right? Yep. Just
that is
really
insane,
running through
yes.
it. Because this is episode, what's it going to be, 287, I think? So yeah, that's a lot of episodes. We are at almost 700,000 downloads for our 288 episodes, I guess, because we've got a couple of uploads that weren't numbered, essentially. Oh, and actually looking at our thing, I think there may have been a misnumber. I see 2 Dawn Chart episodes, both labeled 282. So I may have to go fix that after this. So we're actually a little bit further than I thought. Anyway, thank you for your email, Tyler. Let's do one more real quick. This one is from Mord, M-O-R-D. Hi there, Sanderlanche. Mord again, this time with a reasonably sized email. You mentioned in the finale of Dawn Shard that some effects of heightening can be achieved just by having a lot of investiture, and this is one of my favorite tidbits. We actually see it happening now and again, although it's very rare. There's a moment in Words of Radiance where Kaladin first figures out the gravitational surge. It mostly gets entirely ignored because he catches a small glimpse of Shadesmar, so that's what everyone focuses on. But if you read it carefully, he does achieve something like the third heightening at that moment. He's baffled by how much more vivid and beautiful the colors and sounds are around him for a moment. I think this means that Nauthians are misunderstanding heightenings on a basic level. Some effects of heightenings are the result of having breaths, like aura recognition and probably life sense. However, some others are just the result of having a lot of investiture, no matter what the type. This might go a long way into explaining the absurdly nonsense progression of heightenings. It's not 100 breaths for each level, or a logarithmic progression, or anything that makes sense. Heightenings go from 50 to 200 to 600, and then they seem to become normal at 1000 and 2000 before jumping to 3500, and it's a mess. Well, if they're unknowingly taking two entirely different systems and saying, here's the results that are all part of the same thing, it would make sense for it to become so crazy. Just my 2 cents.
I wonder if that's like a backdoor for Brandon. It's like, I don't quite understand how this works, so I'm going to make it inconsistent, and then I can explain the inconsistencies later.
It could be. One of the common themes that we see is that even when people think they understand the magic, it doesn't quite work the way that they are assuming it does. So it would be easy for them to build in that sort of thing where it's like, yeah, they think that this is how it works, but I'm leaving enough uncertainty in there that I can come back later, and whether he knows ahead of time or not, he has that room to tweak it. Until next time, probably with too long an email, wasn't to the time of Crabs Ahoy. All right. Well, that was a cool one.
Wasn't to the time of Crabs Ahoy. I love that.
That would really shorten the whole thing, huh?
That's amazing.
Oh, actually, let's do one more real short one because this one has some stuff. A couple of different people emailed about this, but I want to do one of them. This one is called The Wine. It says, hey there, DJ D&J. In the most recent episode, you discussed the whole wine cryptic conversation and not knowing what they're talking about. Where here's my interpretation. Although I haven't read Rhythm of War in a long time, so I might be wrong. To me, it sounds like Iali is still yapping about Dalinar and his government. He's the winemaker who makes a wine that looks good but has a sour taste. That's how I think she sees his rule, as something that looks good but actually isn't. Better winemaker coming into the shop would refer to Gavinor, as he will be, quote, the one to come and clean this stuff up. Basically, Dalinar and Yasna are posers who just want to present honorable, and through that, they want to just get more power, but Gavinor will set things right. It's reiterating what Iali already says about needing to get Gavinor away from them, which would be my biggest counter-argument for that interpretation, but I struggle to even begin fitting the metaphor to Sons of Honor or some other secret society. But like I said, that's just my interpretation. Wasn't to the time of next, Colo, P.S., Vasher, Crabs Ahoy, to the cups. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I can see that too. That's a interesting little... That makes sense.
And that was the one theory I think Jamie came out with, was like, so maybe the winemaker is Dalinar? Like, we weren't sure how exactly that would be, but so yeah, maybe that's the way it was. I'm open to that interpretation.
I saying that.
It could have been somebody else. Sometimes I misremember who said what.
No, but it makes sense. There's obviously some kind of message that Iali was trying to give Shallan without actually giving Shallan a message.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, who knows?
Why would people communicate openly?
Correct. Exactly. Yep.
And now she's dead, so, you know. The world may never know. All right, well, thank you guys for sending those emails. We have a bunch more in the box, but we're going to save them for the next time. If you'd like to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram and Facebook and Patreon, where by the time this episode comes out, I think there will be one episode left of my reading Moment Zero for the first time, where I get to the end of that one. I did I do 3 chapters an episode for the most part, but there was like only 4 left for the last one, so I just did them all. So check that out if you want to hear me talking about that kind of stuff. And I think I'm gonna go back to Dragonsteel Prime next, which I started reading for the Patreon, and I'm pretty sure I got 13% of the way through that book, and then something new came out and I switched to that instead. And it's been like a year and a half or something since then. So I'm gonna be real blank on what happened. I may have to reread that before I start recording again, but we'll see. So if you're interested in hearing me ramble about that kind of stuff, join our Patreon. If you do, Joe will assign you a faring power. And if you want to leave us a 5-star review on the podcast platform of your choice, send us a screenshot of that at our email, and Joe will assign you a misting power. And if you do both, you can be a twinborn. So that's all out there. Remember, For next time, we are doing just 2 more chapters. That's chapters 13 and 14 of Rhythm of War. So if you're following along, read those chapters. Music by Miracle of Sound, and Wasing to the Time of Next. Colo, P.S. Fasher. Crab at thee to the cups.
Burden that is shared is much easier to bear. We will not fall to despair this darkest day. Whatever comes our way, whatever